Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we all this morning? First off, I just want to give a shout out to Abigail Thorne from Philosophy Tube for your well thought out video, which has been thoroughly absorbed and has confronted me to the depths of my core. Thank you for your constant perseverance in exposing these unseen threats to all of our lives. What am I going to talk about this morning? Well, I'll put my glasses on so that I look like I don't even know what I look like. Doesn't matter. A little bit Buddy Holly-esque, a little bit. Who knows? Okay, democracy now. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to map out my monologue here, which is what I practice doing every day. And I'd suggest before any of you fuckers move, you'd better be ready to give one of these in response. All right, democracy. I'm sure all of us now have heard the term uniparty, which refers to the kind of coalition of the opposites in which our two opposite political parties coalesce very similar concepts constantly to self-enrich themselves or to concentrate power towards the bureaucracy and away from the collective feedback from the masses or from the people. It could be assumed that this professional class, this class of lifelong politicians, they've literally never had another job. They've gone there. They're acting in cahoots with each other to play this same trick over and over and over again, with people in the middle as the battery. And there's a few key issues, and I'm going to just mention obviously the trans issue. Now, there are people that benefit either way. You know what I mean? I'm going to give an analogy right now, which is probably the best analogy you could think of. It's like when you go to McDonald's, what do you get? That's a question, obviously. You should answer there. What is your favorite thing to get from McDonald's? Now, instantly, I've already set the scene for this exposure here, right? And I am comparing both the medical industry, the legal industry, and the political industry, and the commercial media, all as McDonald's. Of course they are. McDonald's is literally the new crucifix as far as business goes. There is no more successful franchise and business model in the world than McDonald's. McDonald's is basically the Vatican. It's basically the Catholic Church. Okay? Father, forgive me for I have sinned. In the eyes of businessmen, in the eyes of investors, in the eyes of financially savvy individuals. So the question was, when you go to McDonald's, what is your favorite thing to get? And now some of you may have realized the question that you might want to ask. It might be just sitting in your mind, just eating you alive, right? Because there's a constraint that hasn't been addressed. I said, when you go to McDonald's, what's your favorite thing to get? Now, a lot of you probably just made the assumption that majoritively, this is what you get. But there is still a constraint. There is still a variable that has not been discussed that is probably leaving some of you with anxiety. Because some of you might have two answers, and the answer to the question is dependent on the. Can I hear it in the back seats? The answer to the question is, well, Shannon, what time is it? What time is it? And then I'll give him, it's like, if it's 9:30, you've just had a big shift, early started at 6 on the tools, already lugged fucking, collective fucking, I don't even know, like 6,000 kilos worth of glass up some stairs, and you're fucking a bit peckish, you might say, I want a double bacon deluxe fucking McMuffin meal with a fucking extra hash brown. Now, if it's later in the day, traditional lunchtime, you've finished that shift, you've had your smoko, Chico roll from the smoko van, and you've still got a hunger that could really decimate, and then you might say, well, I want a double quarter pounder with cheese, large meal, maybe even an apple pie on the side, just to get me through the rest of the day. Now, I guess as a third option, you might say, well, it's now, it's 11:30 on a Saturday night, and you're on your way home, and then who knows, but I mean, what time is it? Crucial, mainly in this consideration, because McDonald's has decided to serve breakfast and lunch. It's gone. It was the first really to break outside of this uniform conformity of one or the other cunt. Okay, and it decided, well, no, I won't be confined to one or the other. I am going to serve lunch, burgers, and I'm going to serve breakfast, bacon and eggs, variety of different forms. And I'm going to corner the entire market for both of these, in my main selling point being convenience. Okay. So in the paradigm of constant debate between whether you're allowed as a person with a penis to prance, okay, let's get down to the real. It's like, let's get away from all the clothes, let's get away from the sex, let's get away from the speech, let's get away from all the fucking other things. It's like, are you allowed to prance if you have a penis? Well, it depends what time it is, right? And so as far as the political, the media, the medical, the commercial products and services and distribution, it's like, well, there is a position here to sell. It's like, are you allowed to prance if you have a penis? And the answer is no. Well, it's like everybody who has the urge to prance who has a penis is now kind of fed into the breakfast model. You know what I mean? You need some counseling. You've got some sexual disorders. You've got some, sex addiction, or you've got some, autogynephilia, or perhaps you're a bit pervert. Maybe you've got some deep-seated family issues. We've got a fucking menu board there that has a lot of options for you to choose from. Now, say the collective sundial of this uniform professional class sticks their finger up in the air and says, hang on a second, I'm feeling a little bit, just a little bit liberal today. All the little penis havers are allowed to now prance. And that's just like McDonald's when the menu board rolls down and now it's lunchtime, and now there is an adequate selection of lunchtime menu to enjoy, all based on the concept of whether someone with a penis is allowed to be prancy, whether they're allowed to prance. So that's an interesting thought, isn't it? When you go to McDonald's, what time is it? McDonald's has figured out that question might mean you have something different. You might not have the same thing, but they're still guaranteeing that you're going to have it at McDonald's. Okay, that's I guess that's argument one. And then argument two is that my main, and this isn't a personal anecdote, so my main proclivity to pursue all of these things is staggering amounts of pain. it started about 2 years after I was almost beaten to death by 10 Maoris and 10 17-year-old AFL players. It probably has a combination of all factors. That hideous brain injury or head injury, what would it be before then? The 10 years of absolutely ridiculously intensive manual labor, the long hours, the stress from having a mother that was, was both disruptive and also tortured by a medical McDonald's fucking super fucking system. And also having, a dying father who had gone blind in a fucking communist revolution that was undisclosed, that led to, absolutely no support. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, there is a bunch of Muslims here that are getting paid 6 hours to fucking look at a dirty floor for 10 minutes by our NDIS. Or you could call it McDonald's. It's Albo's McDonald's franchise, and for you to know what you're doing, you gotta know what time it is. But the main thing I want to say is, I have a physical disability. Really, I don't like saying that because I don't want to consider myself as disabled. That's why I have not received a cent of disability in any form. I have a physical disability. Now, the weirdest thing is I went to the place that is supposed to specialize in physical disabilities. And basically, I've been played tennis with like a ball. Like, I'm the tennis ball, and I'm forced to somehow go over this fucking net. Being hit by self-interested parties, being like, maybe you need your hips replaced. Maybe you've got lower back pain. Maybe you're a fucking, maybe you're a closet fucking transvestite that hasn't been allowed to fucking prance since you're a young child. And I would say, yeah, I think that's it. Now, the one thing to know about me is I wasn't particularly feminine as a child. Right? Really at all. I was quite masculine. I figured myself an explorer or something. And but I've met countless women who have this same archetype. So that's not really masculine. It's just that men were the ones that were allowed to do it, I guess. We're in a fucking new world now. And so I've experienced a lot of women that have been very adventurous. In fact, far more adventurous in some cases than I have been. And so I have slowly realized that there is a form that I am constrained to present of a fucking just of a man. But it's not a man. It's a fucking defeated man. Now, you've got to kind of think, okay, righto. Let's think about we're one place. We're England, right? We're Great Britain. This kind of worked. It's like most men. If you have a monarchy, in theory, if you think about the concept of monarchy, it's like most men, every man under that submits to that monarchy, right? And then it's like a fractal. So then there's like levels, and then that submit. Now, the funniest thing is that those monarchs were not, they're on and off. They're a little bit back and forth. It depends what time it is. But some of them have been ultra feminine, and some of them have been ultra masculine. It depends what time it is. And I guess that the country went along with that. But that's not where we are now. We have now no king in the attempts of these bourgeoisie. See, everyone thinks it's like, oh, the bourgeoisie is the fucking is the king. And it's like, oh, not anymore. No, the bourgeoisie is this massive middle class. This massive middle class professional fucking, system designers who have designed a system that benefits from both sides. That was always the conspiracy theory. Like they'd say the king controls both sides. Oh, the Rothschilds control both sides. Oh, the fucking World Economic Forum controls both sides. And it's like, no, they don't. They benefit from whatever's going on. This middle professional class is literally designing drive-through franchises that benefit no matter what the weather is. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. It's like, my industry has a similar thing. It's like, well, when the good times are good, when times are good, people want shower screens and luxury balustrades and all this shit. And when times are bad, everyone smashes windows. So we make money both ways. And it's like, that's a physical fucking item. It's a physical material, right? Utilized in a myriad of different ways. Okay. It's not a fucking human being. Yeah. It's not a person. It's an inanimate fucking object, right? That glass professionals can cut to size and put in place, and it prevents your carpet from getting wet if there's a very anomalous fucking cyclone that happens to hit Perth, just out of the blue, just like, holy shit, cyclone. And I love how they're like, they predicted this fucking thing when it was near Cairns, and they're like, I bet you this is going to land in Perth. And it's like, fuck off. Fuck off. Right. So then immediately like, oh, they can make cyclones. And it's like, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. They can make cyclones that do a big fucking boomerang to hit Perth dead on. And I'm going to say, well, this is going to be fun. I've always wanted to be in a cyclone. And the professional class can make McDonald's franchises that benefit from whatever. And it's the same with like abortion. It's like, think about it. Abortion, you're either like an abortion doctor, probably with a mustache. I just imagine that abortion doctors would always have a mustache. Or you can be a plastic surgeon with a mustache. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's like, well, you're not going to spend all this money on plastic surgery only then to have your figure go to shit by having a useless fucking eater, a little fucking dependent. How the fuck are you going to, think of just the inconvenience. What if they cry in the middle of an OnlyFans fucking presentation? Like, so these two industries help, and obviously the barber shops, right? They thrive as well because you need to trim the rest of your beard. And when you get a bit flush, you put the Gillette away and you say, I might let the barber do it. I've earned this. I'm going to let the barber trim because he gets the shape right of my fucking beautiful fucking stash. I might just do a little bit of my fucking box of fucking colourful crayons landed. Look, let me just, because this is what I imagine, like, that's actually a lot harder to do, especially because this isn't working. Let's try another one. No, that just doesn't work. Right. I've got to go for a more simple design. No, well, that didn't work either. I'm actually really glad that one didn't work. But you get the point, right? Once you've got this fucking thing, it's like, well, we've got to convince the girls to get plastic surgery, but that is an investment. And then, we all benefit because these highly modified movie stars are not going to want to limit themselves by having a little child, and so the abortion clinic goes up. Obviously, the dentistry goes up because they're going to need pearly whites to just ping on that high definition. See, I don't need that. You can't even see my teeth, And at the end of the day, I can take a snapshot out of this and put it through an AI filter and say, turn it into a fucking oil painting. And I'm still punching at this high level of visual fucking influence. It's like, whoa, that's interesting. That's interesting. And there's a couple of ways to do it. So it's like you can do that, or you can spend, tens of thousands of dollars on plastic surgery and abortions and barbershop mustaches. Right. So it's like, once we dig through all of this, right, who is to blame? Now, the answer is in the video title. The video title was Democracy Now. Okay. So what I said before was, under a monarchy, okay, you would have a king, and then you have people that submit under the king, and then you have those people, and then people submit under those people, and then people submit under those people, and people submit under those people, and people submit under those people. Now that actually is democracy, right? It's democracy with conflict. It's like you have the choice to submit at any stage, at any level, to submit or to challenge or to go elsewhere. Submit, challenge, elsewhere. Right? Now, what this professional class has done is they've replaced all of that with I don't know, 600 people that wear fucking horrible suits, both women and men, that wear terrible, terrible suits and go and stand in a fucking building and change all of that to be like, no, we're all tarred with the same brush. You don't even have the option to submit. You have to constantly fight, because there's nowhere to submit to except jail or hospital, right? Or homelessness. That's submission, right? You used to be able to be like a gardener. It's like, can I garden your roses for fucking, if I can stay in your fucking shed? And they'd be like, yes, I suppose so. You can go and set up in that weird little building there if you want to call that a building. It's nothing, and there wasn't even if you had that interaction between a gardener and a lord, it's like you know what I mean? They may as well have been a fucking Brer Rabbit that lived down in the briar patch. It just wasn't an issue. There was no way that person was going to try and, in very rare cases, but this submission thing really did work. This patriarchal fucking submission system really did work. Everything goes to shit when you have a completely self-serving fucking professional class, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to squeeze a new concept, right? It's not communism. It's and it's not traditional. You guys aren't doing traditional communism. You're doing professional class bourgeoisie communism, and that has a 0% chance of success. A 0% chance of success. A 0% chance of not being identified and not being discovered, and mass awareness of it coming to, because you're not either. Like what did God say? You're neither fucking cold or hot. You're lukewarm, and I spit you out of my mouth. It's like, that's what you are. You're playing tennis, surrounded by McDonald's wrappers, and you've removed these things: submission, challenge, or elsewhere. I've been challenging you in political process, and you've just said that's not real. No, that's not real. He doesn't have a suit on. He doesn't have a suit on, and he hasn't been to Parliament House. Well, so I have been to Parliament House. I was there 3 years ago. I've showed you again this morning, me driving up to Parliament House and going through all the buildings. It's like, I am in Parliament House. I'm just not stuck there like a moron. I went there. I was like, righto, I'm at Parliament House. All right, now I'm going to go and do a song and dance like a travelling salesman across the land to figure out what's gone wrong. Now, it isn't the actual McDonald's franchise. They're actually a wonderful company. And, as the minute that they actually put their influence and market share towards sustainable agricultural processes and, and developmental employment practices, they're sitting on an absolute gold mine. It's just that, they're stuck in the kind of low tier, like, I'm just going to go on the Sunday program with Karl Stefanovic and, talk about burgers. And it's like, that is just going to not stop working. Okay, like all of that. And that's when you see that and you understand that it's like, Karl Stefanovic does ads for McDonald's on the Sunday program. And then he also interviews our Prime Minister. And there's only like fucking 17 people in this country that are actually, positioning themselves as authority. And that's just not enough to claim that you are in a democracy. See, if it was a monarchy, you'd have to have way more. There'd be all these titles. There'd be the Duke of fucking Armidale. There'd be the Duke of fucking, Kelmscott. Maybe not. Maybe the Duke of Kelmscott would cover Armidale as well, or maybe vice versa. But it's like there would be all these positions and then submission underneath. And then if you didn't like that particular thing, you would go elsewhere. But what we have now is a vomiting of this like, meh. Right? And then they position themselves. They're like, well, we're not communists and we're not the king. Yeah. They just kept doing that. And this is the thing. It's like a lot of franchises, like, unfortunately, McDonald's pretty much at 80% frequency cannot get my order right. Okay? That's a lot more simple than running a really complicated fucking country where you're piling all these things in and all these new technologies. But still, that system that literally basically puts you through that fucking Clockwork Orange fucking indoctrination system where you're like, four pickles, thing, burger, onion, there. They still never get the right amount of pickles on there. I kid you not, the burger I got the other day had no onions and no pickles. That's a half of what the ingredients in the fucking burger are. And they were missing, right? If that's acceptable in a global fucking franchise, literally, how many meals a day does that provide? That makes the United States military look like a fucking, like a cafe, or like a preschool compared to how many meals McDonald's really is feeding. And they got half of the fucking order wrong. Which, if you apply that, it's like, if our medical system, which starts with an M as well, the medical, if that is applying the same logic as I consistently receive from McDonald's, okay, and you've got to understand, it's like, there's a comparison, but then the comparison's like, well, the burger's a lot easier than the complicated things that the medical industry is claiming to be professional at and to be really high quality at. And yes, the more intelligent people are directed to the medical industry, but then my answer or my question would be, well, where are the medical intelligent professionals that are claiming this observation, which is pretty clear? Well, they're not. The medical industry is like, see, one thing that you can guarantee when you get to McDonald's is that the staff are wearing their uniform. Okay, the staff are wearing their uniform. They pretty much are pretty good at filling out their timesheets. They're pretty good at being in the position that they're told to be in by the manager, and they're pretty good at following the codes of conduct within the thing. Because otherwise, you're just fired, right? So they're pretty good at conforming to the employment requirements of McDonald's. They're just not very good at actually supplying the end product at a consistent rate. Now, the end product of a clearly a fucking iconic burger, right, is far easier and actually exists. It's like that. We're not in fucking quantum mechanics here. We're talking about a bun, a fucking piece of cheese, 2 bits of meat, some pickles and onions, some sauce and some ketchup on a sesame seed bun, whatever the fuck it is, right? That exists. It's like once you see it, you know it exists. Right? The medical industry is literally, and the politicians, and the fucking media, and the legal, and the social, and the tech, all this, they're trying to create a fucking hamburger that has never existed. And they're promising and guaranteeing that they're going to do it. And they're fucking, like, literally assisting each other in this fucking delusion to manifest, like Gargamel sitting in his fucking castle, some type of perfect fucking hamburger. And then we get to the next level of the media and we go, all right, well, we already have the example of fucking, when have you ever received a fast food hamburger that looks like it did on the fucking telly? You know, and then you're like, oh, God. Oh, maybe it was way simpler when we just had these three things. It's like you submit, you challenge, or you go elsewhere. That seems easier. Because then it's like, where are you submitting to? So I've submitted to work in this field with these other people in this field. Now, field, right? If you're a plastic surgeon, that's a field. Okay? Like, it's still a field, isn't it? I'm in the plastic surgery field. Okay. I'm in the accounting field. I'm in the fucking human resources field. I'm in the journalist field. I'm in the what? So you're still in a field. We're all in fields, right? For some reason, when I speak about a monarchy and a field, everybody then thinks of, like, you know, old-fashioned bonnets and fucking sitting on a little stool, you know, and churning butter. It's like, no, it's just a field, right? Where do you think the usage of that word came from? It came from the fact that you were in a fucking field, you know, and there weren't that many fields. So it's like when I say elsewhere, it's like, I'm not working for that fucking corn farmer anymore. I'm going down the fucking lane and I'm going to go work for that fucking dairy or that fucking shepherd or that blacksmith or that whatever. And it's like those fields just expanded. And the fields that we're talking about now is administration and healthcare and media, which are, if you think media in the time of feudalism was just the gossip. That was the gossip, the town gossip. That's the media, right? Right, there we go. What was the next one? The medical. It's like they were just the people that fixed. It's like, oh, is he chopped his arm off again in the fucking flour mill? I've got an idea. The last three died. This one I'm going to wrap up with sheep's wool and pour direct fucking camel urine into it with a straw. Right? And it's like, then you're just in a sales pitch where it's like, he's a real professional. He used absolutely pure organic fucking camel urine. He extracted it from a fucking straw and that man survived. Right? And it's like, all you need is one gossip, right? One town gossip that you save one of their fucking relatives' lives and you're fucking in the money forever. You're basically now, you're the town surgeon, you're the town doctor, you're the clever dick. Right? And then the third one was the administrators. Now, this class didn't exist either because it was total fucking patriarchal hierarchies. So, no, it did exist. But they were submission. They were submitted, right? But they're projecting ultimate authority. It's like, there's a fucking problem there. You're projecting ultimate authority. You're claiming that you're basically the fucking the little cunt that's always in movies that's like smirking around, being like, the king wants you, but then you're not the king and you're not communists. So who are you working for? And it's like, whoever pays me. Whoever fucking pays me and whatever my fucking, my collective professional fucking community union decides is going to shift the most amount of fast food. And so if you're not beaten into submission into this, it is communism, into this communist system, then you're just like, you're left with the same three options, but those three options are way weirder because it's like submit. It's like, no, I'm not submitting to fucking professional fucking a coalition of professional con men ever, right? I can't, there's no one else. That's why I went to the king. It's like, well, maybe the king's still got some type of handle on this, with his limited fucking power. And then you go elsewhere and it's like, yeah, that's where I got to. I go elsewhere. And it's like, look at Greece. You know what I mean? Basically, 10 years ago, when this happened in Greece, every single fucking Greek that had half a brain went elsewhere. And then what's even weirder is it's like the actual hard-working backbone of Greece stayed there, right? And now they're suffering from doing the hard work. And then there's an argument where it's like, bring in immigrants. It's like, oh, I live in Greece too. That's what happened here. That's exactly except Australia decided to already bring the fucking immigrants in, and they gave them all weird, cushy jobs in their fucking corporate fucking constructed fucking franchise model to just prey on the fucking things. It's like the Australian government is literally doing to the pioneers of Australia what the Israelis are doing to Palestinians, while claiming that they support a two-state solution. Who the fuck asked you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what time is it? Why do these industries consistently benefit from whatever happens? It's like, if we play that game, it's like, well, traditionally, a lot of fucking traitors and treasonous people have had their heads chopped off. And I would claim that someone representing themselves as the prime minister in this country, and propping up an absolutely fucking ridiculous, treasonous fucking mutiny, such as we see here in this McDonald's fucking model, well, they have their head chopped off. Right, so I guess I've benefited from the time of I benefited from, I did work and I had children, I did this thing under this system, and it's like I benefit now from chopping the Prime Minister's head off. And that is the same exact model. It just alludes to the pre-existing model of a monarchy. Right? And that's not where it ends. It's like, well, then there'd be positions on the fucking thing. So it's like you'd know that you've got to move. Like that was migration and like aeration of our was crucial in all of our regions. It's like you don't get that. Like what's really funny here is like all of our 1,000 documented or 2,000 years of English history, right, is sitting there, and it's like that's the story of on foot or horseback, like just constant migration, like refinement of a system, not administration. That's the difference. It's like administration is not governance, it's administration. Right? If you're only administrating with other administrators, you are going to inevitably build yourself. And this is so weird. It's like all the communists talk about capitalism. They're like, oh, they've all got these fucking massive stories about how capitalism is fucking terrible. And it's like, yeah, but have you looked at this administration complex, right? Where it's like, see, certain jobs, really crucial jobs as well, they don't require constant administration. And even worse, it's like from my case, my example of my work history, it's like administration gets in the way of what my job is. And even worse, a massively humongous portion of my administration was to provide information to this administration government. And so it's like you become an administrator, or you are fucking engulfed by this administration. Literally, they call themselves the administration. But it's like, what have you done? What have you done? And this is Australia. It's like we're talking about 126 years in Australia, right? You can healthily, kind of assume that should have followed a British precedent of development. Because the things that have changed, they haven't changed that much. And this is the biggest thing. It's like, we're being told that our technology is liberating us from work, yet every person is now fearful of a never-ending fucking nuclear war, and they're working their ass off and they can't afford anything. It's like, so this is like the end of the fucking administration boom. And then what we have on the horizon is supercomputers that do complex administration in the blink of a fucking eye. Just like this. Now you'd think it's like you go, oh, well, the government's like, oh, yes, we're going to benefit because everyone's going to build their fucking things and they're going to be unburdened by administration, not counting that fires, that unemploys a bunch of people. But it's like, no, the administration is going, the AI administration through the minds and the experience of actual humans is going to focus like a laser beam at the current administration and start doing shit like this and go, it's like, why did you turn our fucking government, our entire country into a McDonald's drive-through? Basically for sociopaths, for sociopathic fucking con men. And I'm not talking about global, dark, shadowy families of international finance. I'm talking about low-level professional con men. I'm talking about Alan Bond, right? By the fucking hundreds of thousands, and then a new imported like Alan Bond. What was that other guy's name? That fucking, there was some other fucking con man back when I was a kid. Oh, I can't remember his name. He had like long hair, Peter something or Paul. No, I'll think about it. And it's like by the thousands, and then because it's like here's the fucking $1 million. When I used to work at Hungry Jack's when I was young, I used to steal money out of the till so I could buy cigarettes because cigarettes were expensive. Cigarettes are still expensive. The till still has money in it, and I guarantee you, people are still stealing money out of the till. Like this is what you've built. Every corporate entity I've ever worked for. And most of the employees, so many people are stealing. Right? What does that look like when there's no consequence? And what does that look like when stealing actually is the market? Stealing is the model. And that model is literally pushing back to like terra firma. It's like, unfortunately. Like you've got a property and you're just trying to do your own thing. It's like, well, you can't have that. You might let everyone know that this is all a fucking absolutely criminal fucking like conspiracy to steal. Because that's what communism is. It's like communism is theft. It steals. A bunch of organized mob people get together and steal all the assets from the class that had a structure of organization. And this is communism is administration. Communism is human resources, right? It's rather than it's the fourth option. So I said you can challenge, you could submit, or you can go elsewhere. Right, and all of those things have results. Like you challenge, you might win that challenge, and then you're in charge. Right? That's what communists should do. Not administer challenge. Right? Challenge is an individual thing in a patriarchal system. You say there's a duke of somewhere, it's like you challenge that duke and you fucking get that position if you're a better person. And you try and do it like in a civil way. Like this is all exists. Like there's a lot of cases like if you've been a duke for what you might not want to do it anymore. This was how it worked. But what communism does is it goes, I'm going to administer a challenge, right? On all levels, which you have to understand is just a challenge of monarchy. Okay? The minute you understand this, The minute that we stop telling this fucking story as being communism, it's not. Mao was the king of China. He's the emperor of China. He established a coup de grace on Chinese traditional patriarchal assemblement by a shadow administration of political challenge and violence. That's what he did. Right? He was the emperor of fucking China. So was fucking Stalin. And for some reason, like, and this is even weirder. It's like the only reason we don't call it that is because those individuals didn't call themselves king. But the minute we call them king, everything will make sense again, right? And this is really the hallmark of administration coup de grace of monarchies, which is what Stalin, what fucking Mao, all of them were, right? Mao, successful, administrated a successful fucking overthrowing of an emperor and of an empire, and succeeded, right? With guidelines, and then has passed that down through a democratic system. It's like, and that's settling into something, whatever it is, who knows? But the traditional thing of communism is like they are really good at administrating a revolution. They're just really terrible at administering a government, because if they use the communist rhetoric, if they use the communist model, they are stuck in that, right? They're stuck in that communist model. You have two options. You align the lower classes, right? That's traditionally what they do to get their uprising, or you align the middle classes. You can't align the higher classes because they're the ones that you're challenging. So you align the middle classes to challenge the core patriarchal authority of the king. But then you've got to make sure that your structure is better than that. Otherwise, this is what happens, like what's happening right now. You get exposed, right? Mao, revolution, communism, Stalin and Lenin and Marx, right? Revolution, did the deeds. Albanese, failure to launch, stuck as a fucking photograph, not of one family, but of a fucking, like a what are those business, like a enterprise fucking club or something like that, like a, you know what I mean? Commerce, chamber of commerce meeting. Just like a fuck, it's like, just like, oh, it's a chamber of commerce meeting, and then it's like, oh no, they're fucking communists that have literally turned our country, like a diverse country that should have, and this really is, and this is what I speak to, really. That's why I constantly reference the big picture, you know, the portrait taken of the event at 1901 of Federation, which has a very prominent member of my family displayed between two barristers. I challenge that moment. It's like the concept of Federation of Australia is really ridiculous. And the thing is, it's like that on its own was a kingdom. If you get down to it, it's like, well, why did we need that? Now, the problem is because you can't, you know, this was a new concept. It's like we weren't colonizing, like you know, having empirical rule over the top of like India or different countries that we'd done that to. This was like this because one, the Aboriginal people did not have a civilization, so to say. They had a naturalistic relationship with their land, and they were wiped out. So federation was the first steps of creating the attempt, very similar to America, of a floating monarchy of administration, right? Linked to the king, but it's like, it's it was so fragile, and the conflicts between self-interested communists and socialists and local Labor politicians over, a period of like slow, progress, I guess. Like a lot of what they did was progress, but it's like they stifled the traditional hierarchies, which, if allowed under the traditional British system of feudalism, which is what we should have had, right? We were too ambitious. We should have said, well, Australia's new and it's barren and it's open and there's nothing there. It's like we need to establish feudalism first, but that was not the trend or the taste at the time. Because then, like, think about it. You're in the House of Lords or in Westminster Parliament. You're sitting there going, well, there's Australia and they want to have a feudal system, right? Those people had already benefited from the destruction of a feudal system, and they hadn't yet found out that communism and socialism was terrible, because that was still a couple of years away. So it's like Australia was really, in a way, the first communist nation, the first communist state. It started this. It is the start of that trend. And that really, it's like the size of Australia. And this is the thing. Once you understood the size of Australia from other nations, if you'd never been there, that was probably sold as more than what it was. Australia is actually a very difficult country. It's very barren, right? There's a Vodafone ad that's making fun of this now, where it's saying like 98% of it, no one lives there. And it's like, that is absolutely true. But no one knew that when they were selling the thing. It's like Britain held this thing. They were like, we have this, ridiculous nation. And then 100 or something, whatever years later, they go, okay, well, we'll federate, which was really the creation of the first communist state. And it's like, this would have echoed around the world. That moment of federation in Australia more than likely triggered all the other uprisings of communists, because it was that. It already was that. It was a mutiny held in conversation, a very technical, well thought out mutiny held in conversation of communism, which is so fucking strange, right? And it's like trying to outdo the Americans and trying to outdo, obviously, the people back home, but held in this thing of respect. And you can it's like selfishness is the rule. This is why I said that theft is a really common occurrence in corporate structures. It's like, well, the Crown, the British Empire was a corporate structure. Right, so basically, Australia was the collective mutiny of a newly found land, with using the resources of the Crown to establish it under a new model of administrative communism, disguised as a constitutional monarchy. But it's like, you can't have a constitutional monarchy when back home the politicians continue to destroy the influence of the monarchy and destroy the skeleton of the feudal system and replace it with administration, because then it just becomes like, and that existed in the I'm not saying that feudalism or the empirical model was superior. Or that it was perfect, right? But self-interest, actual self-interest, and legacy and reputation really did come into play a lot more than a concentrated middle. Just, and a lot of times, like, they're not masterminding this shit. They're making one incremental step at a time to feather their own nest. But it's the distribution. It's like, if you take all the aristocracy of England previous to the discovery of Australia, if you took that total administrative class, right, and projected that onto Australia, you would see a very different picture than what you see now. See, this is the core concepts. Like federation is almost getting in the way of Australia because there's too many decisions are being made at the federal level, and they are coalescing to a monoculture fucking agreement to just prop up this middle class. And not necessarily with personal wealth, although it is extensively personal wealth, it's personal wealth, security, stability, and influence. And so anyone above, these are your real titans, like your industrial titans, like Hancock and Forrest and Palmer, and which we don't have anywhere near enough of. We should have, probably should have hundreds of names, really, but we don't. What we do have is hundreds of thousands of middle-class professionals that are all coalescing to build what could only be described by Stalin and Marx, and the Tsar Nicholas or whatever, all of them, right, as the worst case scenario. It's like the communists weren't that. That's what they destroyed, right? And the monarchy wasn't that. The monarchy has been fighting that. So it's like, what is this class called? What is this structure called? It's not fascism, because it's like, although, you could, I suppose, describe it as fascism, but it's not carrying the hallmarks of fascism unless you understand that what I'm describing here is absolutely the breakdown of democracy, which is the hallmark of fascism. The minute that this doesn't land in Parliament, and you've got to remember here, it's like we're talking about Australia, but I'm projecting into a global stage. So right now, at 56 minutes and 33 seconds, I'm now exposing the Australian government as a fascist dictatorship, really. There's nothing else you could really describe it as. And I'm challenging most of those professions at the highest of levels, and I'm predicting a constant challenging of those professionals at all the highest levels. I'm almost guaranteeing an absolute mapping, a remapping, a cartographist revolution of mapping out the structures that these bureaucrats have built for us, right? Which is what all a map is. It's like, it's called Kent probably because some bloke was called Kent. Not Clark Kent, maybe, I don't know. But it's like that's the evidence, and that's the cartographer's mapped out structure of the feudal system. You can see it there. It's all there. It's all there in our homeland, But what we have here was the rough outline from 126 years ago. Oh, yes, we will gather the states together and they will do this, right? And they've just stayed there. Once they reached administrative control, all the incentive to continue the development was stalled. And Australia became an administration extraction corporation. This is what my claim is. I'm an Australian citizen with a claim that is astronomical compared to the vast majority of Australians because of my family history and also just the amount of time my family's been here, and obviously the amount of work that I've contributed to defending every last Australian citizen. But I have a far higher chance of doing anything that I want with absolute government assistance the moment that I leave Australia. That's a mine, okay? That's not a country. That's not a federal government. That's a corporate structure purposefully designed to hold the citizens captive while external forces extract from this country. And that is what a mutiny is. It's like if you think of federation as a mutiny, right? Which is hard because, like, I've represented federation. I'm like, but there was a concept. It helps that my relative has written a book, which I haven't read yet. Basically, if I read that book and it ends up saying, we have to be careful that these administrative class doesn't take over and form this into a self-serving extraction industry, and that, it doesn't stifle the development of this wonderful fucking blessing that we've been blessed with, put all the atrocities aside and speak to it just from the language of that time. A communicative blessing for the entire British Empire, which would include all of our previous colonies, including India. Who knows what would have happened if Australia hadn't have federated? Who knows? It doesn't sit anywhere near the other places. It's like the United States had a far longer history before federation and a far more organized and distributed diversity of colonies and of states, which leads to not necessarily stability. In fact, stability is constantly at edge, but dynamic stability and progress, right? And that's the hallmark of America. It's like, and then you look at Canada. It's like, well, Canada has the same model as we do, except they're right next to the United States, which influences them a hell of a lot. We're down here by ourselves. It's like we're literally, if you have enough, it's like, and this is the problem as well. It's like, if you have enough intelligence to observe this and understand it, the sensible thing to do is to just align with it. Okay. Now, that more than likely, say 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago, even 10, might have been the way I'd gone. But then this system attacked me for trying to do that as an Australian citizen with the radical concept of building our own, industrial chains, manufacturing chains, like production of skilled, like all the things that they say that they're doing. And it's like, oh, hang on a second. As a fucking enterprising, personal, private businessman, I'm doing a far higher level of administration now than the government is, and I'm at war with the government, and I'm at war with the foreign entities that treat Australia like a fucking, like a back alley fucking prostitute. And that's what you got to kind of get to. It's like, that's the fucking archetype of Australia. So that was how those people treated the fucking Aboriginals. That's how they treated the convicts. That's how they treated their own fucking people. That's how they treated immigrants. This fucking kind of, this extreme dark whatever forces that Albo described One Nation as, that's what that is. It is Andrew Tate pimping a young bunch of girls out in a back alley. That's what it is. It's like, that's if that's what's going on everywhere, if that's what the culture is, why would you think that we're respecting the land base any more than that? And that's all I hear from Aboriginal people. Ones that are courageous enough and blessed enough with the capacity, and have taken on the massive challenge of equilibrating and aligning themselves with our, alien culture in order to fucking, send us a message of what the atrocities that our people are committing. And it's like, I'm here to say that model, that archetype is not British. I'm here to absolutely stamp that into authority. That's not British. That's Australian. That's endemic. That's white Australia. That's what it does. White Australia is a pimp, a mutinous pimp pirate, which means our Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of white Australia, is that. He's the fucking, He's the middle class, white, pirate, mutineer, swashbuckling fucking rebel without a cause, sitting at the chair of this Chamber of Commerce coalition, making decisions on what the girls should wear, basically. You know what I mean? It's like, Susanna, you only made $300 last week. You better get your fucking shit in gear. And don't make me fucking slap you again. These international clients are coming here and they want one thing. They don't want you whinging about shit. You just sit down or lay down and do your fucking job. That's literally what he is doing. And every British person who still maintains their Britishness, you know, throughout this fucking bombardment of global propaganda to label us and describe us as the worst possible people on earth. Well, you should understand whose influence I'm currently locked out of having influence by. You know, why else? What other reason would there be? You know what I mean? Like, what? How else do you describe this but the breakdown of democracy? Remember I said you can challenge, you could submit, or you can go elsewhere. And I guess I said that I'm going elsewhere, but I guess I'm still fucking challenging. Maybe it's just in my blood. Maybe I do not stop, you know, until the deed is done. It's like I'm there. I'm there in Parliament House challenging your Prime Minister, your pirate fucking pimp fucking Prime Minister, your mutinous fucking absolutely scabby fucking lowest common denominator white Australia Prime Minister. Now, you want to sit there and say it's Pauline. It's like, no, it's actually Albo. Pauline is a reaction to Albo, and she is actually submitting to Albo. Otherwise, she'd be up in his face like this. There's no fucking constitutional right that Pauline can't march her entire fucking army into Parliament right now and make the Prime Minister submit. I guarantee you if she did that, that's what would happen. So Pauline Hanson is submitting to Anthony Albanese as a white Australian. And I am constantly challenging him throughout the ages, through the power of time travel, constantly and daily, to his fucking face, to expose this fucking ridiculous policy. This is your fucking Prime Minister. This is Anthony Albanese. You know what I mean? What you've got to start seeing him is he's a fucking shipwrecked fucking pirate, you know, scribbling his name on the fucking insides of a fucking limestone cave off the fucking shore of Botany Bay. He's perpetuating a myth that he is the acceptable and wonderful fucking culmination of anti-British and anti-fucking, you know, anti-elite every man. But he isn't. He's their fucking king. He's the king of HR. And the most offensive fucking thing that you should all understand right now is who the fuck ever consented to that term HR, human resources. I'm not a fucking resource, you maggot. I'm not a fucking resource. Resources is what we grow. It's what we fish for. It's what we pull out of the fucking ground. It's what we create and manufacture. It's what we intellectualize and you know, thrive to create throughout innovations. Humans are not a resource. See, because in the eyes of Albo, the king of HR, the pirate king of HR, let's fucking make a little skull and fucking crossbones so that we understand that he is actually a fucking pirate, right? Now, I suggest all of you go in your history books and discover what the British Empire, what the East India Trading Company, what all these people did to pirates. Right? So Albanese, the pirate king of HR, in the tribute to Australia, what was I going to say? Right, he's fucking... He's considering that I'm not worthy to respond to because I'm just a human resource. You know, I may as well be like a chunk of fucking iron ore. I can guarantee you Twiggy, when he's dealing with his iron ore resource extraction industry, you know, he's not having conversations with a chunk of iron ore. And in fact, if anyone caught him having a conversation with a chunk of iron ore, his stock price would probably go down because they'll be like, oh, he's finally fucking gone round the twist. And so by that assumption, it's like that is what this digital fucking administrative thing that I'm speaking into is now. It's like, oh, I'm just a human resource and I haven't been warranted with the capacity or the authority to be responded to by Albo, the pirate king of HR, in the tribute to Australia. You know, despite him saying like, oh, equal opportunity, we're going to get the children. It's like, he doesn't, no, because he's the head administrator, which means that he's God. He's the model that Australians have to sit under. It's like, that's fascism. That's what they all did. Hitler Youth. That's the next step, is the Albo Youth. You know what I mean? Anthony Albanese, a political secretary, a lifelong politician. It's like, if you're not a lifelong politician, you don't get to have a conversation with Albo, the king of HR. Albo, the pirate king of HR. It's like, why would you do that? If I barge into a McDonald's fucking, you know, managerial meeting, right, and start saying about these pickles, despite the fact that that would actually be a pretty good concept to say, like, do you know, 80% of the time you get the basic standard burger wrong. You know, I suppose I could add feedback, but that's about the same. It's like the feedback's not going to change it. I would need to physically barge into every single fucking meeting. Or maybe if I did this. And so really, I was given two options, right? I had the option of constantly pestering McDonald's, right, to get them to lift their game and to fucking guarantee that their burgers are right. Or I could constantly challenge Albo, the pirate king of HR, in the tribute to Australia constantly. And I guess I just said, well, the burgers can wait. The burgers can wait. I'm going to continuously challenge your Prime Minister, not mine, of, you know, in this arena called Parliament House. You know, that's where they do that type of thing. You know, I'm just here in a digital sense, and that makes sense because Australia's really big. And if I had to spend half my fucking time flying over to fucking Canberra, how the fuck would I get anything done? Someone would jump in my bones. Someone would jump in my fucking, you know, in my spot, like that fucking Cecilia song by Simon and Garfunkel. They would jump in my spot while I was on leave into Parliament. It doesn't work. You know, we're not England. Even England is like, it was a couple of days, you know, maybe a day trip or something like that. It's like, yeah, the airplanes, it's like, how are we going to fly to Parliament when there's no fucking aviation gas? And this is the thing, it's like, they're junkies. This professional class are junkies. They're junkies of Middle Eastern oil. They've been mainlining this shit and fucking selling it in little bags and making tons of money. That's what they are. Their whole system relies on it. They have an oil economy in the middle of an oil crisis. And they cannot, you know, they didn't because this would have been way more civil. It's like now they're dealing with this. They're like, oh shit. The minute our fucking entire fucking oil economy stops working, that guy on the internet is going to fucking seem like a fucking genius because he doesn't have to go anywhere. And his fucking relative is prominently displayed between two barristers in the establishment portrait of our fucking government that sits at the back of Parliament House. And this is a fucking absolute monstrous fucking conspiracy. It must be masterminded by the fucking reptilian fucking overlord Rothschild fucking monarchy system. You know what I mean? And then they're instantly going to flip out and become fucking conspiracy theorist nuts. And there's nothing worse when you go to see a tribute band and they start fucking yelling about conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Just play the fucking song. And the song that you should be playing is We Surrender. Sweet Surrender, maybe. Sweet surrender, na, 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 na. No, that's not even the same song. But I love, na, 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 na. No, that's Goodnight Girl. It's all wet, 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 but it's like Sweet Surrender is the song that Albo should be fucking playing. Put a wig on. No one will even know it's you after, give it a year. Your convenient disguise of mediocrity will work after you surrender. And especially if you surrender your entire professional class. One go, it's like, well, it wasn't me. There was actually, hundreds of thousands of middle class, corporate and professional fucking people, individuals that coalesced this creation of this oil-backed fucking mutiny fucking scam onto the other citizens of Australia. And we're sorry. We've been stealing out of the till. I caught you. And that's the thing. It's like, that's what I would have been like if I actually ever got caught stealing out of the Hungry Jack's till. Oh, sorry, times are tough at home, and and I'm addicted to cigarettes, and the government keeps making them more expensive, so I need to steal. And it's like, let's go right now to McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, KFC, Pizza Hut, Domino's, and fucking Nando's, right? Let's go, maybe not Nando's because they're the new kid on the block, but let's go, hey, did you notice a case of increase of theft that kind of coalesces with the increase of the taxation of cigarettes? And these are the types of like unseen fucking collateral damage. It's like, oh, if it happened with me, it happened with other people that weren't me. So it's like, yes, the increase of cigarettes almost definitely led to an increase in crime. Right, especially because cigarettes are so addictive and there's such a daily occurrence. They're the same as heroin, right? Now, heroin is more intense, but it's like that's a recipe to create crime. And then it's like, why would they do that? It's like, well, because part of their professional, the security guards for their professional corporate scam are called police officers, right? And so they benefit from an increase in crime because then we can increase the police, and then also if we have, break and enters and home invasions, things like that kind of obscures the landscape of all this white collar crime that is going on with the coffers of our federal government. You see what I mean? It's like, this is how you start to think when you own the entire fucking franchise. You start going, we can serve breakfast too. Anyway, I'll put both of them up, because I need to do my that's so I can grab the screenshot and turn it into an oil painting. The symbol that kept our patriarchal feudal system going for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years was just a portrait of people. So anyway, right now, let's get to the fucking comment section because Roger Cookerman has been busy this morning, and I guess I've put him to sleep because he's left. And it does say a lot that the only person is called Roger Cookerman in this moment, while I'm under his fucking boot. Imagine if you took all of the time and effort you put into these pointless YouTube rants and did something useful instead. It's like, oh, I was doing that, right? And this thing attacked it. And so I am doing something useful. I'm bringing down a fucking organized criminal administration so that we can reestablish, order, so that we're not all being treated as fucking iron ore, as a chunk of iron ore. That's useful, unless you're in on it. If you're like, if this guy doesn't shut up, I'm not going to be able to keep my scam going or whatever. That's basically, you've got to get better arguments. You've got to get better. And this is really the thing. It's like, traditionally, our political system has been people that were inheritors of estates and things, right? They were aristocracy. They were the landed gentry, right? So that wasn't an argument. Now, the funniest thing in my case is that my house, my property is really shit. So there's no argument. And that's what it's getting down to. It's like, and that's what's going to be so interesting, because I'm defending, these inherited estates all across the world, against a bunch of fucking literal fucking like thieves, people that are stealing out of the till of their fucking workplace, and thinking and then for some reason they're here, and then I don't know, keep going down the levels of why this is hilarious. Think about we've had 80 years of experimental communism being destroyed right now in the interaction between one person and a fucking person with a pseudonym in the comment section of YouTube. That's why I said it's like Stalin was the king of Russia. And so that means Vladimir Putin is now, the inherited monarch of Russia. That's what I've said the whole time. Mao was the king, and now that makes Xi Jinping the king. Now, I would suggest that Xi Jinping redistributes his pre-communist empirical China, which means delegating down and creating. And I think he's already there. He heavily leans on local delegates as opposed to state-level delegates. And that traditionally is a feudal system that is re-establishing itself in China. And they're aggressive in the international, but I think they're learning a lot of the lessons. I think everyone's now learning the lessons that this international aggression is really a waste of time, because it requires this concentration to higher levels, which then leaves you vulnerable to the same type of communist overthrow that happened before. It's like we need to get a little bit chill with the international scene, especially as technology is going to throw us a never-ending myriad of both problems and solutions. So it's just like, it's mutually assured destruction all over again, but held in like just a thing to, it's like, maybe I should just go home and plant some fucking trees, and organize the shit. But there was some mopping up to do. Here's this again. You could do an online university degree. I've done like 700 fucking online university degrees. And I'm actually teaching a fucking online university degree right now. So again, this is a display of the dumbed down nature of the communists thinking that, a university degree. And it's like, imagine I just had one. If I just said, oh, there's my university degree there. And it's like, guess what this is? This is my fucking PhD. This is my thesis to gain my university degree. So you're witnessing that. Maybe you should do a university degree. Ask yourself if your kids don't cringe when they see you on here. Well, one, my kids don't watch this, which is actually the biggest problem that I'm having. Right? So that's funny. Why? So you know what I mean? That kind of destroys that. That's my whole argument, is that my kids aren't watching this because they're being convinced to associate with retarded fucking, communist dumbed down fucking drones in the middle of a fucking intellectual fucking intelligence war. Right? I'd rather have fucking literal donkeys than these fucking people that this government has produced. All right. This is a pointless endeavor. See, what is this person? What is going on? There's so many comments. You are stuck down a very deep rabbit hole and wasting good years of your life. I'm not stuck down a rabbit hole. I'm referencing the pre-rabbit Australia and then mapping that out, which is what my family's been doing the whole time. It's like, that's what we are doing. You have been placed in a rabbit cage by your communist HR king, Anthony Albanese. Do something. Right, next one. Do something for yourself. But this is just seeing shadows and conspiracies where they aren't. I'm not saying shadows and conspiracies. You're saying shadows and conspiracies. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. It's like, this is hard and fast reality. What I'm describing exists. If you are representing Roger Cook, it's like, then this exists in the network of the Labor Party anyway. This is literally what their bread and butter is. It's just that they're now committing the crimes that they would have been prosecuting in their younger years, and now and that's what traditionally happens. And they've done it through a media technological revolution that is slowly but surely exposing them for that at a higher level. So there's been a lag, right? And then now they're getting overwhelmed, and it's just going further back than normal. It's like the waters have receded, allowed them to create this corruption infrastructure, and then the tidal wave is coming and cleaning them up, and it's going further back than what most people would expect to make sure that it's triangulated in absolute security and at a larger level. So it has to interact with the United States and with the UK and with the Commonwealth and the British Empire, all these things, all the pre-existing structures in order to identify accurately what's happening now. That's basically what's happening. When you've alienated, see, just this is like this. What this is called, whoever's doing it, this is sociopathic probing. They're right in there, like, how dare you do this to your family? They're like in there. This is deep level shit. Like, basically, if this is happening on your comment section, that person should be in jail, right? If they're using a pseudonym, we should, and it's repeated. It's like, let's say 5 cases of pseudonym use with sociopathic probing onto an individual. It warrants full-scale fucking disclosure of their location. If we hit a VPN, then we blow the VPN up. You know what I mean? It's like this. If a VPN is creating invisibility cloaks for fucking, either foreign espionage agents or whatever the fuck it is. But it's like, that's how we'd write legislation. You don't blanket it. You write it very specific, because this is the model that I'm declaring as the model of a fucking abuse. And it's not just happening in this extreme case. It happens to women individually in lots of cases, like almost on a daily basis. It's like, why are we tolerating that? Why do we tolerate online, right, in these community sharing things where most producers have a higher level of concern than the commenters? So why are we policing the producers? It's like, these people are fucking disgusting, and more than likely they're militarily disgusting, and they're reading from a handbook, of deep level sociopathic probing. And it's just every word on it. When you've alienated your no, I haven't alienated my family. The COVID restrictions and the totalitarian government that I'm displaying here as a corporate fucking, entity. And not in the sense, like, you can't accept that there is another level that would intervene if your local level, which means the federal government, was seen to be being this level, doing this level of corruption. And it's like, well, that's what we have. Like, that's
That is our history. That is an extended history. It's like the Australian federal government is not the be-all, end-all of the fucking world. You know, it is more than likely absolutely participating in this because that is always what is happening. There is always a government that is always doing this, that is always eventually being caught. It's just you happen to be watching the moment they get caught. I'm coming from even, and then this again, so it's abuse, and then a place, I'm coming from a place of trying to help here, right? So then it's like flips it. Classic. Couldn't your time and efforts, but he spelled it wrong, be better directed to something that will make your life better? This is something that will make my life better. I told you, there is 3 options. There is challenge, there is submit, and there is elsewhere. I am challenging into the point of absurdity to declare that your Prime Minister is not democratically receiving more than adequate, ridiculously oversupply of challenge, because he is treating himself as the Albo, the Pirate King of HR in the tribute to Australia. He's not leading a Democrat, and he's hiding behind the same thing you're hiding behind, which is a pseudonym. Pseudonym fucking troll culture. That's what he's hiding behind. And you're his fucking spear. Even if he hasn't sent you, you're submitting under his fucking patriarchal fucking rule to come and challenge me in fucking comment section. Make a video, cunt. You know what I mean? You don't fucking, and this is what I said, challenge, submit, or fucking elsewhere. And now this is the thing. It's like this cunt doesn't get the message. These people don't get the message. Just challenge, 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 challenge. You've got to meet me in the same field. You've got to present a video. The minute you link a video there where I can see your face and talking, you know, then your challenge will be adequately fucking responded to. And I'm still doing it now, even though, you know, it's ridiculous. But you're not going to submit because there's no cost. Until we can go, righto, constant display of fucking sociopathic probing on a fucking digital environment, you know, designed to disrupt with no reason, no adequate response. Like, let's find him and put him in jail. He's already done 1,000 times more than I did to go into jail. So, seems like a good fucking, you know, good bit of manufacturing consent there to fucking bust down this digital fucking castle he's put himself behind. Right, not getting to see your kids and going to jail is fucked. It sounds awful. Yeah. It is. And it was perpetrated by people like you doing the same thing that you're doing. So you're just continuing on that. And the thing is, it's like, unless all of you grubs get the message early, you know, not based on my command, but on other people's fucking reactions, like they're going to push back on you. The pendulum is going to swing back. I don't care. I'm stuck between challenge. And it's like the minute the challenge is done, I want to go elsewhere anyway because I don't want to be doing this. This is the ridiculous thing. So I'm doing this to present to my children. And this is just exposing the fact it's like my children aren't listening because it's not entertaining. It's boring, monotonous, really, and methodical and highly detailed. It's like, yeah, kids won't listen to that. And they won't listen to that if they've been incentivized to avoid intelligence or to avoid education or to, you know, just be part of this mob of fucking absolute dimwits. And that's all I'm proving. So it's like, if the challenge isn't met, I leave saying that the challenge isn't met, that basically Australia is North Korea. You know? And then it's like, I guess, was the minute my children actually realised, they were, Dad, we live in North Korea. I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to buy yous. You know, I'll buy your freedom from North Korea. You could have just come, but you didn't. And I didn't challenge because your mother wanted to be part of North Korea. You know, I'm respecting your sovereign rights to coalesce to North Korea, fucking Australia land, even to the rights of motherhood. So it's like all of these things. It's like that's all the options I have. You know, you can dumb down your society and bring them into a fucking coalition of, you know, of this level, but why? Why? Yucky. And you can't stop me from going. You can't stop me from doing this because we'll blow Canberra up with a nuclear bomb. This is the nuclear age. This is how nuclear negotiations are done. It's like this just continues on until, and that's what North Korea is. They're like, the reason we can't liberate North Korea is because if we try, they blow something up with a nuclear bomb. And it's like, the reason I can't liberate Australia right now is because they will do the same. And I will, and I'm in the same position. It's like they can't do anything to me. It stays in this weird conflict. But the thing is, it's like we can just restore all of this. We just put Albo on the shelf. We go, oh, Albo was, he's like the manager that was shit, which everyone's had. Everyone's like, oh, fuck, that manager was really shit. Look what he built. And you're all going to get hammered anyway because of this fuel thing. And, there's never been a better time to reopen Australia, the real Australia. It's like we've got to do that. Let's read the last comment so I can wind this up. This is a fucking long one. But this isn't helping. No, you're not helping. You know? Also, you should chip in with the housework. This is the fucking weirdest level. It's like, no, I'm not chipping in with the fucking housework because I'm being held as a fucking political prisoner in a country of absolute ridiculous bullshit. That would be submitting. There is a time and a place that isn't here and now where I would happily contribute to the housework, which is something I've done since I was very young. I have literally kept a fucking house, kept a roof over five people's heads for 20 years. This being included. This is the challenge. It's like becoming North Korea is not within my acceptable realm. It obviously is in your realm, which is why you're submitting to the concept of housework. Like that's what you're like, I gotta do the housework. Yep. All this fucking professional HR bullshit is leading to us becoming North Korea and being enslaved, but you've got to submit to your wife or girlfriend in this moment. Fuck off, mate. You know what I mean? It's like this guy probably doesn't even have a fucking wife or a girlfriend. Who the fuck knows? It's like, why don't we already have this guy? And the reason is because the power of a totalitarian dictator was given to my ex-partner, to my disgruntled ex-partner who is a rampant alcoholic, right? Distributed Hitlers. You gave the exact fucking power that Hitler had, that Stalin had, that Mao had to disgruntled women. Experiencing rampant cognitive overload from constant fucking abuse. Not from me. Constant abuse from Albo, the pirate king of HR. And his subordinate, fucking Roger Cookerman. You know what I mean? It's like that's... So it's like, we figured it out. We put Albo, the pirate king of HR, with a pink tie on, looking completely passive and fucking non-threatening. And then we make every single disgruntled ex-partner in the country Hitler. To fucking fuel our 24/7 security service called the police service for our fucking 24/7 McDonald's drive-through economy. What could possibly go wrong? Boo-roo.